Today, we're going to talk about snakes. Hopefully, I get some good news out of today. So, what's up, YouTube? So, there's something weird going on up there. So, usually, I like to ultrasound at the beginning of the month because then at the beginning of the month, I can get a gist of what I'm going to do for the rest of the month in terms of pairing. So, typically, I like to ultrasound at the beginning of the month. Now, I just got done ultrasounding the boa, and I'll post that video whenever I start talking about her, but it was an interesting thing. So, I'm going to do one ultrasound for a ball python just to show you guys. And then I'm also going to do an ultrasound. I'm going to show you the ultrasound on the boa. The reason I did it not in the video is because I figured being my first time, I had a little bit more of a learning curve. So I decided to just do it on a video on its own. And I'll just cut out all the nonsense out because I was trying to learn how to do it and everything. So it was honestly pretty smooth in terms of it's not that much different from a ball python, but I'll talk about what is different from one to the other in the video. So first, let's do an ultrasound on a ball python. And this is one that I'm interested in. Hopefully she goes. So I'll do an ultrasound on her first. And then we can essentially, hopefully she stays there. We can essentially see where she's at in terms of follicle development. The last ultrasound I did was probably about 2 weeks ago. Now I know I said I like doing them at the beginning of the month, but like I said, this is one that I'm interested in. So I'm checking every 2 weeks on her just to make sure she doesn't reabsorb. And if she does reabsorb, then I know not to essentially look forward to her going. She's already had, I want to say, she's had 4 locks with the male, and she is due to lay between May and July. So I have that written out. You can kind of see I do that with all of the snakes I've started pairing. I'll write it out. Obviously, I have a husbandry app. It's called Husbandry Pro, where I can literally just scan the QR codes and put all that information in there. But I prefer to have something visual just to show me when I'm walking around instead of having to scan every single time. Now, I will say this is dry erase, so it does come off pretty easily. And it doesn't ever leave any residue behind. Like this female was pairing, she reabsorbed, there's nothing left. So it doesn't always leave residue behind. All of these females are pairing except for this one. So it doesn't leave residue behind, but that's essentially where I'm at. And let's check this ball python, and we'll talk about everything that goes into an ultrasound on ball python. And then like I said, I'll show you the video on the boa because I think it's pretty interesting. There might be people that are on my channel, probably like 75% of them are on my channel, and they are bearded dragon people. But I think that even the bearded dragon people will find this fascinating because I find it fascinating. Obviously, I'm into snakes as well, but my mom finds it fascinating. There are so many people that find it fascinating that can give any care to anything else that I do. They're like, dang, the ultrasound's a pretty cool thing. And I think it is. So let's show you a few ultrasounds, and hopefully you get something out of it. Now, I will talk about one thing. The ultrasound machine, they're about $1,300. So if you don't want to spend $1,300 on an ultrasound, you don't have to. Ball pythons is actually very easy to palpate. And palpate is where I'll show you that too, actually. So let's do this ultrasound and see where we're at. And then I'll show you palpating this female as well, so you can see how that coincides with the ultrasound results that we got. So let's do it. That's it. Let's do it. Pretty good. I apologize for the mess, by the way. There's always a mess in here. So here she is. She's good. She has probably a meal in her anyways. So I'll talk about this a little bit as well. This is just aloe vera, but people suggest that I use aloe vera. It's cheaper than using ultrasound liquid. So I'm facing this to you all so you guys can see exactly what I'm looking for. So this is the head. You usually want to go about halfway down the body, and you will start seeing, come on. The other problem is she's all cooked up over here. Cooked up. She's crooked up. So I'm probably not going to be able to see everything I want until she straightens out. Come on, straighten out. There's a big old follicle right here, but she's not letting me see it because she's curved right there. So I'm gonna try to straighten her out a little bit. All right, there. Oh my goodness, that's perfect. Stop moving. Stop moving. Snake, come on. Holy moly. Look at the size of that thing. All right, so ball python ultrasounding is the most satisfying thing ever because you get so many good shots like this. And then this is definitely over 35, I have to say. It has to be. 33, almost. So ball pythons they usually say after 40, it's a for sure shot that they're going. And that's a massive one. And I'm gonna see if I can find another one and see it. I'll try to get an average. So this one's 33.3. Let me do another one. She's also like one of my best females in terms of temperament, so. Come on, straighten out a little bit. I need to see you. And she's curling even more. All right, I'll go to this side. Oh, there's another one right here. Come on. Come on. All right. It's right. Come on. There we go. So this one's not as dark as the last one was, just because she's moving around a lot. So I can see it with my eyes, but it starts over here and there's a little black ring around it. So that's what we measure. This ultrasound machine is a little finicky too. So I usually try to go from one end to the other. And this was a bad example because she was moving a whole lot, but this one's showing 29. So we have a 29 and a 33. I will say that the 33 is probably more accurate because it was probably a better shot, but that's where we're at. She's over, I mean, like I said, 2 weeks ago, she was at 21 millimeters. Right now, she is at 33, 29, and I think she's going to go. I think she will give us a clutch. She's, like I said, she's one of my best temperament snakes, so I think that this will be a very good clutch for me. The male is not a good temperament snake, but I think this is a freeway. The male that I paired her to is a tri-stripe, and the tri-stripe and freeway doesn't necessarily create anything crazy. I don't suspect he's a yellow belly, but there's a lot of tri-stripes out there that do carry yellow belly, and they're considered possible yellow bellies. But a lot of these tri-stripes do carry yellow belly, and if he does happen to be a yellow belly, then we'll end up with some ivories, which I'm not crazy about, but I will be okay with if that is the case. Trying to get her some wet paper towel so I can rub off all this aloe. So that was a wild experience. This is the first time that I've ultrasounded a female. This is the first time that I'll say it again. The first time that I've ultrasounded a female before ovulation, and she was so close to ovulation. I know that's gonna sound crazy, but every time that I ultrasound, because it's at the beginning of the month, it usually doesn't capture high millimeters like that. And typically, I don't know why, but every time I have ovulation, it usually happens like the third week of the month. Usually. Obviously, that's not the case all the time. And I'm just now getting to the point where I'm ultrasounding every single month. Before, I was just ultrasounding when I felt like it because of the fact that that's it. You know, I didn't really know that much of it, and it was just something that created an extra step for me to do in here, which is perfectly fine. But now I like it because it's very rewarding, like I said. So therefore, I really appreciate these ultrasounds. And let me show you the video on the boa so you can get a gist of what happens with boas different than ball pythons. All right, so I've never done this before, so we're just gonna record it, see how it goes. Hopefully she don't bite the hell out of me. Clean up some of this stuff around. She looks pretty content, so I only have here this thing just to cover her face, just in case she gets a little antsy, but other than that, she seems pretty content, so let's see what we can find out. Chill out. See, she looked at me. You know, it's inside, the snakes are pretty similar. This one's bigger, so obviously it's easier to see stuff. It's hard to say. I think that's one. So it's hard to say. The follicle seems more spread out in here in the boa than they do in a ball python. So it's hard to say exactly how this works. I don't know if they go based off the same millimeters. Like, obviously, there's more questions I'll have to ask since I'm deciding an ultrasound. But right now they're at 15. So you can see, I don't know, can you guys see? Yeah, you guys can see. You can see this one here, and then there's another black spot down here. So they're not as closely as they would be in a ball python, but ball pythons only have like 6 to 8 on average in there, and already there's 2 right next to each other instead of where ball pythons they're usually in a line. So let's see what else we can find. She may have more in here. Look, there's another one. There's another 2. So besides the fact that boas, she's hissing at me. Besides the fact that boas give live birth, they also have 2. Here's another one. Oh, that's a good one. They also have 2 egg sacs. Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what the word is. They also have 2 egg sacs. So they have one on each side of their body. So usually that's why you see eggs on one side and eggs on the other. She's trying to come out at me. Typically when you have 2 egg sacs, you will have also, I mentioned this in another video, 2 ovulations. Typically they're right next to each other. This egg is at 26. So this is the opposite side of the body. The first egg we saw was on the top side. This one's on the bottom side. So I assume that the left side of her body is probably going to go into ovulation first. I do have to do more research onto the millimeters and when they decide to go into ovulation. Maybe it's around the same as the ball python. So it could be essentially ovulation happens at 40 millimeters. And this one's already at 26. So that's pretty good. I didn't think we were going to get this much detail on this first ultrasound, but I've probably already seen maybe 6 or 8, maybe 6 or 8, but I've only, as you can see, I've only done probably like this section here. I haven't even touched this gel on this side. Oh, for anybody wondering, this is aloe vera gel. So this is sunburn gel, and it works really good. And it's also non-toxic and everything. So it's just aloe vera, and it's cheaper than ultrasound gel, so that's why I was told to grab some of that instead of grabbing ultrasound gel, but that doesn't really matter. It also does have a little bit of a smell because it's aloe, but other than that, it's just water in there. Yeah, water, aloe vera, Aloe, it says aloe, barba, dem juice. I don't know what it says. And it has fragrance in there. So that's probably the only bad thing about it. But they don't really soak through their scales. So I will wipe it off and with a wet rag and call it a day. But that's what I wanted to show you guys, really. Yeah. Cool. Pretty cool. All right. So hopefully that made sense in the boa video, and talking about how they have 2 egg sacs instead of 1 like a ball python does is mind-blowing to me. So that's why they are able to have bigger clutches, not because only their size, but because they have 2 egg sacs. And I think if I want to say that the average clutch size is anywhere, I want to say there's been like as low as 10, as much as 30, I think is what it's been. I'll have to put the numbers on here because I can't remember. I know the averages is weird compared to ball python. I think it's like 12, 18 or something like that, which is a pretty good number considering they have 2 egg sacs. So it's about the same as if it was 1 egg sac with a ball python. They have 6 to 8. So about the same number there on top in terms of average. But I've seen ball pythons lay 12 clutches, 13 clutches. So it only makes sense that boas would also be like 30 per or litter or something like that. So that's it. The other thing I want to talk about was palpating, and they'll have a female shed. Don't want to mess with her. Here we go. So I don't know the follicle sizes on this female here, but I know she's already locked with the male once, and she's been bull wrapping for what it seems like a month. This is one of my proven females here. This is actually the mom to Pride and Joy. I don't know if you guys know what snakes those are. Those are my first double recessive snakes. Both of them were pinstripe exanthic pieds, and she is the mom to them. She's already been pairing to the Pastavi pied exanthic. So I should get all exanthics. That should be the case unless something happens. I don't know. I should get all exanthics. There's nothing that could happen because he is an exanthic. I should get all exanthics. Half of them will be pied, and there'll be some combo snakes there. So I should at least get some double recessives out of this clutch. So let's talk about palpating. So what I usually do, I don't know if you guys can see this tub. Yeah, you can. All right, so what I usually do is I let them slide into their tub just like this. And typically they'll want to go back in there, and I let them hang over while I rub my hands down their spine while squeezing. Oh, that was a good one. While squeezing them like this slightly so I can feel pressure. And I felt a good size follicle. So now we're going to take her to the ultrasound machine and see what we have. I want to say she's probably at 15, 20. But again, that's just based off of what I felt in my hand. That's not an accurate assumption. So you guys are moving around a lot, and I apologize for the mess in here, but it is what it is. All right, so let's do this snake here. Straighten you out a little bit. Okay. So let's clear this out. Start with the new snake. Here we go. Oh my goodness gracious. Look at all these follicles she has. 1, 2. Stop moving now. 3, 4. She has 2 side by side. That's why she's so wide right here. There's a good 3 or 4 follicles right here in this area. So here's 1. There's 1 on each side here. So 1, 2, that's 3. Stop moving. Come on. Relax, baby. Relax. So there's a good 5 or 6 follicles in here. 1, 2, 3, 4. All right, so let's get a good picture of 1. All right, that's a good picture. So I said 15, 20, but I think I was off because I felt a good size one, but I don't want to be saying, 15, 20, just based off of the feeling. So I wanted an ultrasound. Dang it. Now I got to clear. How do I clear? I forget. I never have to clear. Here we go. It's right here. So, set. Nope. I got to do it again. I'll probably, like I said, I like to do 2 or 3 to get an average. This one's at 36. Holy moly. Hopefully she doesn't lay a bunch of infertiles because she just locked with the male. So let's do another one. Let's do another picture. Calm down, baby. Calm down. So this one has only locked once with the male, and she has bigger follicles. Oh my God, that's a perfect picture. Don't move. And she has bigger follicles than the female she moved. Dang it. Did she move or I moved? Let's go for this one. So she has bigger follicles than the other female, and she's only locked once with the male. And I ultrasounded her last month, and she didn't have any follicles. So all of this was in a month of growth. I mean, she had follicles, but they were very small, so I didn't even care to look at them. So they were probably like 10. And that's usually when people start pairing, but the male wouldn't do anything for weeks. So this one's coming out at 28. So it could just be the angle where I was ultrasounding. So this one's 28. Let's do one more, just to be certain. Maybe that 36 was just an outlier. See, there's 2 follicles right here, side by side. All right, here we go. Let's get this one right here. And there's another follicle popping up right there. So it may be closer to 26 like that last one was, because this one does seem smaller. So I was about to say that doesn't even make sense, because for her to be that big in terms of follicle development, and it's only been a month and she was 10, which does happen. Yeah, this one's 28. So yeah, that was like blowing my mind. I'm like, dang. So it could have just been the angle. It could have been like 2 eggs overlapping that made it look a little bit longer there. So there's that. So now we have a female at 33 and a female at 28, 26. And I'll have to put that in the husbandry app. So, wow. And like I said, this female last month, she was only at 10. So for her to go from 10 to 28 is still a big jump for a month. That's another reason why I like to palpate. Because when you palpate, what you get is a general idea of if they're building follicles or not. And while I palpated her just now and I felt a massive follicle, when I palpated her before and I did an ultrasound before, I didn't feel anything. So I was just more so like, she's probably not building anything right now. So I do that with every snake. I'll do a palpate, and then if it doesn't feel like anything's in there, I'll just leave her alone. And then if it feels like something's in there, I'll do an ultrasound. So you got to use both things. And palpating does take a little bit. Actually, the ultrasound took me longer to learn, but palpating does take a little bit of a practice to figure out what you're feeling for. Because like I said, you got to go about halfway down the body, because everything above that is organs. So essentially you could be feeling for other things not doing anything, and you'd be like, oh, there's a follicle, but it really just be their stomach or something like that. And also if they just had a meal, which is another reason why I like feeding ball pythons when they're breeding smaller meals, is because if they have a big meal and you feel for that, you'll feel a meal instead of an actual food or an actual egg. So that's essentially another thing you want to look out for. So that's why another reason why ultrasounds are good, because an ultrasound will 100% tell you what you felt, because you saw the eggs. The eggs were there. I can't lie about that. So 28 millimeters on this female here, 33 on this one. Let's say 30, give or take, because there was one follicle that was on the smaller side. So 30 on this one, 28 on this one. So I have at least 2 females that are probably gonna go. I say probably because you're not 100% sure until you get that 40 millimeter mark and they ovulate. You'll never be 100% sure unless they ovulate. Even if they get to 38, you're like, damn, it's for sure gonna happen. If they don't ovulate, it doesn't mean anything. So let's see. I'll keep doing ultrasounds and we'll see what we get. But if you made it this far into the video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that notification bell so you don't miss anything that I put out in the future. As always, peace.